All right, here we go. The second Daniel Craig episode. We're getting we're moving along. After this, there's only two more movies, so this is I'll save my review for this one at the end. This is Quantum of Solace, 2008. So, Quantum of Solace. One thing about the title is a lot of people complained about the title. That was one of the main complaints. Sorry, I'm eating chocolate covered almonds. A lot of people complained about the title. It's like it doesn't sound very Bondy. In fact, one of the main complaints was it sounds like a Harry Potter movie, and I find that funny because Quantum of Solace is an Ian Fleming short story about James Bond. Like it's an actual James Bond title, and people were complaining about it. People will complain about anything. So this is the shortest Bond, the absolute shortest. It's only an hour and 46 minutes long. So this is, and it's funny because two movies later we get the longest Bond, and No Time to Die, the one that hasn't come out yet, is officially the longest Bond. It's almost 3 hours long. So this is directed by Mark Forster. Mark Forster was an already established director. There is only one other. There's another director that kind of goes on to be famous, but this guy was established. I pulled up his IMDb because I'm like, I recognize that name, and the reason why I recognize it is because he directed Monsters Ball, the Halle Berry, Heath Ledger, Billy Bob Thornton movie that won Oscars. So he directed Monsters Ball. Here's a big one for a lot of you: Finding Neverland. Finding Neverland, the Johnny Depp movie. He directed Stranger Than Fiction, The Kite Runner, Quantum of Solace, of course, World War Z, Christopher Robin. Like he just directed a lot, and it's just he runs the gamut of genres. Like he has comedy in there, he has drama, he has everything, man. He even has children's movies. It's kind of weird, but this is once again Daniel Craig's second outing. 40 years old when he did this. He's still younger than most of the other Bonds. So, our Bond girls, Camille Montez and Strawberry Fields. Yeah, Strawberry Fields, actually named after the Beatles. So, the thing about her was the thing about the Beatles. The connection here is Paul McCartney was asked to write the theme song to Quantum of Solace, and he turned it down. He's like, I can't think of anything that rhymes with solace. He said, except maybe Wallace. This is an actual quote. And so he turned it down because he just didn't think he could write a song. But that's pretty cool. But they found someone to do it, and it's awesome. The villain is Dominic Green. He's kind of, and Mr. White makes his return. So, because this whole movie is pretty much about Mr. White. The Aston Martin DB5 from '06 is back, but it's not in the movie long. So, and our song is Another Way to Die by Jack White and Alicia Keys. Now, the reason why the Aston Martin DB5 from '06 is back, and before I get into this movie is a straight up sequel. And what I mean by straight up sequel, because it's like, oh, well, they're all sequels to each other, DC. No, this is the first ever Bond movie, and this is from the director, this is from the creator, this is from Barbara Broccoli, the producer. This is the first ever Bond that is a straight out sequel. Yeah, Jaws, the bad guy, was in two movies, but even they say those are loose sequels. Like they're basically the producers like this, all of the Bond movies are they're sequels to each other, but they're not really a huge continuating story. The only thing that really linked all of them was Bond was married and lost his wife. Blah blah. This is a reboot, so that didn't happen now. But this movie starts right where Casino Royale left off. We start in having it's a chase with the Aston Martin, and this is not a long opening. They're just going through the streets of Italy. He's being chased by two guys who are shooting at him, and he's taking them out. And there's a wonderful scene where he knocks one of the cars off the cliff, and it goes rolling down the cliff, and it doesn't explode because that's what cars do. A car rolling down a hill, the chances of it exploding are not very high. At least not in the Hollywood sense, where it goes down, boom, boom. It's like, oh my god, big boom, big Michael Bay explosion. But in real life, that wouldn't happen. In real life, the car would just tumble down, everyone would die. So that's what happens in the movie. And then he finally gets away from the chase, parks, opens up the trunk, and Mr. White is in the trunk. Like the oh my god, the poor Aston Martin has bullet holes all in it. It's awful. But it's like he finds Mr. White in the trunk, and that's where we discover that at the end of Casino Royale, he shoots Mr. White in the leg and then and the base is like, I'm going to get revenge on this, and this Quantum of Solace starts with him having kidnapped him. He's being chased off Mr. White's property. So we are starting right where Casino Royale left off, which has never happened in a Bond film, and that's pretty cool. So we get to the title sequence and all that, and we have a lot of sand, a lot of Bond images, him punching, him pulling the gun, doing all that stuff. We have not got the iconic. We don't get that until the very, very end. So it's just like in Casino Royale, we didn't get that at the beginning either. It happened after the opening title sequence. But there's a lot of ladies. The ladies are back. The half-naked or naked ladies are back. And we hear like an R&B rock song in the background, and it's an amazing song by Jack White and Alicia Keys. Now, full disclosure, I'm a huge fan of Jack White, so yeah, this one and the Chris Cornell one are probably going to be high up on my list, because when I start ranking everything, it's going to be my opinion. Like, it's not like what I think is the most iconic or what I think is the most important or anything like that. It's going to be full on my opinion on what sounded best to me. So Jack White is going to be way up there, and Chris Cornell is going to be way up there, and probably Paul McCartney is going to be way up there. So, but we get this awesome song, and we go straight into it, to where we are pretty much torturing Mr. White. We're interrogating him, trying to get some information. We do find out, but through M, that Vesper's boyfriend has been found dead, washed up on the shore. But they did the DNA sampling and found out that it wasn't him. So her boyfriend's still alive, and Bond is kind of looking for her boyfriend the whole time. He's just like wondering where he is, what happened to him, stuff like that. And when Mr. White is being interrogated, he's talking about this organization. We don't find out what this organization is until the very end. In fact, we only find out the name. They try to keep it kind of secret. But he is basically saying this organization is unstoppable. Not even MI6 can stop it, blah, 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 blah. And he has a moment where he says, and we have people everywhere. And he looks at one of the guys that's guarding him and says, isn't that right? And the guy just starts popping everybody in the room, including trying to kill M, and that makes Bond chase this would-be assassin down. And we get another foot chase through the rooftops, and it is, while not as cool as the Casino Royale parkour foot chase, this foot chase is pretty good, because it's got a lot of cool action sequences in it. I enjoyed it. It ends up on the ceiling of what looks like a cathedral, but I think it's just a derelict building. Tea today. There are ropes hanging from the top, and this is where we get one of the coolest action sequences of the movie, where Bond is hanging from these ropes, hanging from his foot. And this other guy's in the scaffolding. He dropped his gun. Bond dropped his gun. Bond is swinging from the rooftops, and he's trying to reach his gun. He just keeps scraping it. The guy's still climbing down. He finally gets his gun. Bond already has him. Bond lifts up, grabs the rope, pulls up, and pow, pops the guy. And it's an awesome sequence. Like, this whole foot chase was really nice. But that does lead me, because I actually have the note. I was going to save it till the end, but I want to say something that's very strange. This might have too much action in it. Like this is almost like every 10 minutes there's an action beat. There's a chase. This movie has 2 foot chases in it, a car chase, a plane chase, and a boat chase. There's a lot of chases. They could have called this Quantum of Solace. I mean, this is a lot of action for an hour and 46-minute movie, and I think it actually detracts from the movie. Like the movie just, it's like, okay, I need some more story here, but there's a reason for that. I'll get to that at the end. Um, but Mr. White actually escapes, and we find out that the guy who just betrayed M and Bond and pretty much MI6, he had been working for them for 8 years, and he had been M's personal bodyguard for 5 of those 8. So this is like, and they have no idea what this organization is. So basically, this is like they have infiltrated MI6 to a deep degree. It's pretty cool. But we go to Haiti, which is weird because in the first 20 minutes of the movie, they're in London, Italy, and Haiti. They travel a lot in this movie, and this is not even the last of it. They end up going to a lot more places, and there's rain. There's a lot of rain in this movie too, or not a lot, but there's rain in this movie. So because they actually do film in a desert in this movie, and this desert that they film in has seen. I looked it up. It's kind of weird. They have seen no measurable rain ever. This desert has never seen rain. Like that's crazy, man. I don't know why that's so weird. But Bond, it goes to Haiti because he's got another lead to get to our bad guy who we haven't quite figured out who it is yet. So we get a very Bond or Bond. We get a very Jason Bourne-esque knife fight in the hotel, and the reason why I say Bourne-esque is because in the Bourne Identity, Jason Bourne arrives to his old apartment for the first time after coming back after being found in the ocean. He goes to his apartment, and there's an assassin there trying to kill him. And the fight takes place in this apartment with knives. They're breaking doors, breaking windows, and this is almost the same thing. Like it's the same kind of fight. It's shorter, but Bond ends up stabbing dude in the neck, kills him. Yeah, and that makes him mad. If you killed another person, you need to quit killing people. We need to interrogate these people. So, but he finds out the name, and he finds out a hotel that this guy's staying at. So he goes to the hotel. He's like, "Hey, do I have any messages?" Like, "No, but you got this briefcase." "Oh, cool, thanks. I'll take that." He pretends to be the guy and actually takes the briefcase. He gets outside, and he's picked up immediately by Camille. Camille Montez, played by Olga. I'm not even going to attempt her last name because I don't want to butcher a beautiful woman's last name, and a great actress. Carrie Linko, I think. Curry Linko. Sorry. As you can see, I'm not really good with last names. I can barely say my own, and it's only 5 letters. But so he gets the briefcase. He's talking to her. He finds out that she's kind of a liaison, and she's like, "Oh, you're not what I expected." He's like, "Yeah." And she hands him this dossier and everything. She's like, "What is this? This thing's empty." And he opens up the rest of the briefcase, and it's a picture of Camille and a gun. He's like, "Well, someone wants you dead." And she thinks he's an assassin. She pulls a gun on him, shoots him. He grabs the gun, doesn't get shot, jumps out of the car. She speeds off to a very Bond-esque, "Well, that wasn't very nice." And it's like, makes me laugh because he actually does comedy quite well. If you haven't seen Knives Out or some of the like Layer Cake, Daniel Craig is actually very good at comedy. So, in fact, that's kind of what he wants to do now. Now that he's stepped away from Bond, he wants to go into comedy, and I can see it because he's actually really funny. So, but we do get out of there. This wasn't very nice. It's just funny, and he follows Camille with a motorcycle. There's a great moment where a guy's chasing him, and he's like, "Man, you were supposed to kill her," and he's like, "Yeah," and he pops the motorcycle up, makes the guy fall, and steals the motorcycle. It's a really cool moment. And he follows Camille all the way to this boat ship where she meets up with Dominic Greene, our bad guy. One of the weaker bad guys. A lot like Mads Mikkelsen's character in Le Chiffre in Casino Royale. Uh, just kind of a meek guy, and his motives aren't great in this. And once again, like I'll explain why, but this is just not a very well written movie. There is a reason for it, though. There's an actual excuse as to why this movie wasn't written well. So we meet Dominic. We find out like as soon as Dominic sees Camille, he's like, "Oh crap!" And he's like, "You just tried to have me killed. What is wrong with you?" Turns out they're kind of working together, and they're getting down, But he ends up selling Camille to this general guy for land. He's like, "You give me land, and you can have her." But he sells her off. And it's like, holy crap. And Bond sees this and he's just like, what the crap's going on? So he actually chases this thing. And this is where you get the boat chase. And he goes out and saves Camille, and jumps on the boat, and they bolt. But for some reason, and we don't find out till really later, for some reason, Camille's really mad at Bond for saving her. Like, this guy is taking her as a trophy, and like he's going to do bad things to her, and she's mad at Bond for saving her. It's like, okay, cool. So there's a little intrigue. Um, and after this, we meet up. We see Felix, our boy Felix. He's here, but he's got like a friend with him. Felix Leiter is a huge member of the Bond family. He's been in a few movies. He's always Bond's kind of liaison. He's kind of like Bond's in with the CIA. He's been like that throughout all of this series, and this is Felix, and I love this Felix. And he also broke the record for most Felixes, because no two Felixes have ever played Felix 2 movies in a row. And this is it. He's playing 2 movies in a row, and he does it 4 times. Actually, no, it'll be 5, because he's going to be in No Time to Die. So we meet Felix, but he has a friend with him. And I watched this movie, and I geeked out a little bit, because he is with Greg Bean, but that is played by David Harbour. And everyone's like, "Oh, who's David Harbour?" You know who David Harbour is. He plays Hopper in Stranger Things. He's the cop, man. He also played Hellboy, which was not a bad Hellboy. It was just not a very well written movie. I kind of enjoyed the new Hellboy, but that's me. I'm easy to please, apparently. But David Harbour, I'm like, oh my God, it's David Harbour. My fiance had her headphones on, and she was watching her own show because she didn't feel like watching Quantum of Solace. She's not the biggest Bond fan. She likes some of them, but she didn't feel like watching this. And I'm like nudging her, babe, 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 wake up. And then she's like, I'm up. What do you want? She's been crying watching some kind of sad show. I don't know what it is. I think she's watching some kind of weird medieval show or something. I don't know. I don't pay attention. I'm a bad husband. It happens. But I'm like, check out who's on the screen. And she's like, oh my God, Stranger Things. All right, that's cool. Yeah, but I was excited, so you should be excited, because you should be excited for me. I don't know. You got my Halloween shirt on, check it out. It's foreign. Got some writing. I'm proud of it. I like it. Whatever. Yeah, I've got ADHD. Anyway, so we meet with these guys, and they're actually having a meeting with the bad guy, Dominic Green, and it turns out that the CIA is kind of helping him. And through the theme of this whole movie almost is helping bad guys, because there's no good guys anymore. It's mentioned several times. And once Dominic Green walks away, even Felix is like, should we really be helping this guy? Do you understand who he is? He's such a bad guy. And it's like, and David Harbour, or his character Greg Bean, says, if we didn't help the bad guys, there would be no one left to help. So it's like, it's crazy. And then really, they talk about how the CIA is helping the bad guy because all they care about is getting their money. They basically, Dominic Green is buying up land. We don't exactly know why. We think it's for oil, because he's over here talking about oil and the land and everything, and he's supposedly kind of like a hippie, a tree hugging dirt worshiper. You know, he's like he's kind of like save the earth kind of people, like kind of like me. I'm kind of like that, but he's like, oh, I'm going to buy up all the oil so we can get some cleaner energy kind of thing. But during the CIA meeting, he's like, no, you can have the oil. And they're like, oh, so America's going to get the oil. Cool. And it's like, that's why they're helping him, because he's giving them the oil for this land that he's buying for the oil. So there's some more intrigue there. You're like, what is going on? And this is another one where nothing's revealed until the end. But basically, he was like on the plane right before Dominic leaves. He has his phone. He's like, do you know who this guy is? And it's Bond. And they give it to Felix, and Felix is like, I don't know who that is. And David Harbour's character, Greg Bean, looks at him and he's like, no, he's like, that's James Bond. And the guy's like, oh, yeah, I want him dead. So Dominic Green pretty much tells the CIA to kill James Bond. And they put a hit out on him. So it's crazy. So Bond is having to follow. He's going to have to get a little more information about Dominic Green. He follows Dominic to this weird opera, and everyone's walking in, and they're all getting these goodie bags, like they're at the Oscars or something. And Bond follows one guy into the bathroom and takes his goodie bag, and it has a little earpiece in it and some other toys. And he just kind of dumps everything in the sink and takes the earpiece. And then you look and you see that he knocked out the guy. And then he walks out of the bathroom, and very Bondy just breaks the handle off the freaking bathroom and walks away, so no one can get into him. It's very cool. So he's listening in, and this is where we find out that all these rich people are helping Dominic buy all this land in order to get some oil, or they have something coming to him. But Bond is kind of like, hey, y'all need to find a better. He actually gets on the mic, like, yeah, I think y'all need to find a better place to meet. And all the rich people just start getting up and leaving. And we see Mr. White. Mr. White's still there. It's like, oh man, and this is pretty much the last time you see Mr. White. He's in this movie, because while Mr. White, this is a sequel, and he's trying to chase after Mr. White for killing Vesper, he's going to have to work his way up to that. So he gets in, he's chasing down Dominic, but he's actually having to fight off a bunch of bodyguards, and he kills one of the bodyguards, but it turns out the bodyguard is actually a member of a secret agency. Oops. And M has to stop Bond. She's like, you need to come in now. And he's like, no, I'm not done with this. And M is like, well then, we're gonna have to restrict everything. You're done. And they turn off his credit cards and everything. They lock his passport. Everything's done. So they don't know. He didn't know what to do. So he has to go find some help. And he gets the help of the guy that helped him in Casino Royale, who I don't talk about a whole lot, because his name is Mathis. He's a good actor and everything, but he just doesn't. He's not in the movie a lot. He's basically just like in Casino Royale. It's like it's bad, kind of bad character development, where he comes in and this guy only shows up when Bond is in trouble. He's basically Bond's gadget. It's like, Bond is in trouble, better get Mathis. And he gets Mathis. Mathis helps him, and then Mathis disappears until Bond is in trouble again. So it's kind of, I mean, he's in this one a little bit more, and he does have a little more character development. We find out, Bond thought he betrayed him in Casino Royale, and he was like, he had to be tortured for hours until they found out that it actually wasn't him and everything. And then it's so he doesn't exactly like Bond, but he'll still help out Bond, and he helps out Bond a great bit. But when he gets Mathis to get him a passport and some credit cards and everything, and they go off and they're going to go find this guy, but MI6 knows where he is, and they send someone to kind of keep an eye on him and bring him in. But why? Why would you send this person? They send Mrs. Fields, who is Strawberry Fields, played by the beautiful Jim Arterton. But why would you send a woman? Like, you know what Bond does. Bond is known for seducing women, and well, he does. And but that's him. Mathis and Bond are staying with Strawberry Fields now. They actually go to a really rundown hotel, and she's like, "No, this is perfect for our cover because we are teachers on sabbatical." And he's like, "No, I would rather stay in a morgue than stay here." And he goes to like a 5-star hotel. He's like, "Hi, yes, we're teachers on sabbatical, and we just won the lottery." So they actually stay in a really nice place, and they're like they're gonna go to a party. They get invited to a party. He's like, "Hey, Strawberry, you want to come to a party with me?" She's like, "Yeah, sure." And they go to the party, and this party is where we're kind of learning more. Dominic is wanting to fix the world by buying up all this land and everything. Like, okay, cool, all right. And Camille's there, and she's talking crap to Dominic, and she basically kind of ruins one of his deals. So he's going to kill her by throwing her off the balcony. But Bond saved her, da, 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 and we find out that Dominic is a dick because he is just like he is very upset that Bond just saved her and they're getting out of there, and he's like, "Oh, you two are perfect for each other, just a bunch of broken people." And it's like, whoa. He's like, "Yeah, you sure you want to take her, Bond? You're gonna lose another one." It's like, oh man. So it's this dude is mean, but it happens. But they get a little bit of an escape. It's only Strawberry, or it's only Camille and Bond. They're driving off, and there's some police that are going to pull them over. And he even says, "What are the odds that Dominic has police on his payroll?" It's like, okay. And yeah, they're like, "Yeah, we need you to open up the trunk." Out of nowhere, we need to open up the trunk, and we find Mathis in there. He's like, "Oh no!" And he's like, "Whoa, what are you doing? Freeze!" And then Mathis kind of moves. They're like, "Oh, he's still moving. Kill him!" And they're like, they start popping off rounds, and Bond kills both the police officers, but not before Mathis gets shot again, and he is passing away, and it's awful. It's actually a really emotional moment because Bond is holding him, and he's like, just don't leave me, just don't leave me here." And he's like, "All right," and he's like, "I'm really sorry, man." He's like, and he's like, and basically you got to complete this mission. And he's like, okay. And Mathis dies, and he, sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. He throws Mathis in the garbage. Yeah, and even Camille was like, "It just seems wrong that you're just throwing your friend away." And he's like, "Trust me, he wouldn't care." And it's like, and then, like, if you watch the movie, Mathis would not care. So it's a very cool moment, but it is awful, and so they have to get out of there, and then we're just gonna skip way forward, and we get into a plane chase. They're in a gigantic plane. They're being chased by a small plane, and we get a little more storyline where Bond will not admit that he's on this mission for Vesper. The whole movie, he's just like, "No, screw that girl. It's nothing." But he gets drunk and he drinks Vespers, and he won't call it a Vesper. But he's out there, and so he does admit one thing where she's like, Camille's like, "Why are you doing this?" He's like, "Because someone tried to kill my friend." And she's like, "A friend, huh? A female?" He's like, "Yeah, but it's not like that." She's like, "Oh, what, your mom?" He says, "She likes to think she is." So he's talking about M, and he called M his friend, and which is crazy because he calls him his friend, and he admits that he's actually doing this because they tried to kill M. And I love that because it shows the love-hate relationship between M and Bond, where they annoy the piss out of each other, but they still respect and love each other, and I love that. So they have a plane. They actually they get shot down, so they have to jump out of the plane. They hit the parachute at the last minute, and it makes it. And this is where we kind of figure out everything. So Camille basically admits that she's using Green to get to this general. Now, what general are we talking about? The general that he sold her off to. And the general that he sold her off to had her. She had him right there, and she could have killed him, but Bond saved her. And that's why she was so mad, because this general killed her whole family, burned the house down while she was in it. That's why she has scars on her back. And he killed her mom and her dad in this fire. and she had him, but Bond saved her. So that's her motivation. So now we have Bond's motivation, we have Camille's motivation, and then next we found out Green's motivation, Dominic's motivation. We go and we find out they're underground. They're kind of like in a cave, and he's like, "Oh, this must be where the oil pipeline is." And they're looking, they're like, "There's no oil here. What's going on?" But they do find an underground river, and that's when it clicks to Bond. Bond's like, he doesn't want oil, he wants water. Like, he wants to cause a drought. So he's actually taking the water out, and he's causing a drought. Yeah. So his motivation is water. Bond finally gets out, and M catches up to him. He goes to the hotel, and M's just like, "Hey, yo, so this happened right here. Yeah, Strawberry Fields was covered in oil, and they made her drink oil, and they killed her. But if that looks familiar, it should, because Goldfinger, they purposely positioned her just like Goldfinger, kind of like an homage. So that's pretty cool. I like that part. I don't like that Strawberry Fields died in such a horrible way, but cool, whatever. And then at that moment, M finally says it: "Bond, you're suspended. Go home. It's over." Okay. He gives up his gun. He gives up everything. He's going down to the car with the two bodyguards back, the people guarding him, whatever. In the elevator, he beats the crap out of him and escapes just in time to run out of the elevator. And he finds him, runs right up to her, and he's like, "I'm not done with this." He's like, this is not over yet. You have to believe me that Dominic Greene is bad." And she's just like, "I can't help you. The CIA has put a hit out on you. You need to get out of here." And she's like, "Okay." And he's running, but she stops one of the guys, and the guy's like, "Why are you letting him go?" One of the main MI6 guys. And M has this awesome moment where she looks at the guy, and she says, because Bond is my guy, and I trust him." And it's like, yes. So we find that M is indeed loves Bond, and Bond loves M. So this is also why I love Dame Judi Dench's M, and why this movie got as high a rating as it did, because there are character moments like this that are amazing. And the thing about all this is there are no character moments like this in any of the other series, in the Sean Connery Bonds, the Roger Moore Bonds, any of it. There's no just cool character moments. This is just shows that writing has gotten so much better over time, and ideas and acting has just gotten so much better. So I love this. This is cool. Now this is not going to be a top-notch Bond. I'm going to go ahead and spoil that for you. This isn't way up there. It's just, it got a higher rating than like low tier. So, but he gets out, and who does he go to for help after he has no one to turn to because M can't help him? Felix. So Felix is going to help him out one more time, and we go back to Mr. Green, Dominic Green, who finally reveals his true plan, which is he is trying to cause a drought because he just wants to be the main water supplier. He wants to upcharge people, and that's how he's going to gain money. And this is where Dominic Green falls off a cliff for me, because this is not world domination. This is barely greed. This is just like, I want to sell water to people. Basically, he's Nestle. Because Nestle said, water is not a human right and you should have to pay for it. So, Dominic Green is Nestle. No good. Bond comes in with a little pew pew boom booms, and got some booms and everything, and we get Camille versus the General and Bond versus Green at the exact same time, going off, pop, 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 pop. The General's gonna do a horrible thing to somebody, but Camille saves the girl, and she's in there beating him up, but he's getting the better of her because she drops her weapon. Bond and Green are Bond's basically just chasing Green with Green stopping every now and then to hit him. The building catches on fire. We get a lot of booms, and Camille is basically about to lose to the General. And she finally gets her gun, and it's crazy. And at basically the same time, um, she pops the general, hits him in the head, he's dead, and Bond is fighting freaking Dominic Green when Dominic has an axe, and he makes Dominic miss, and he axes his own. Dominic axes his own toe right down the middle, blood, and he basically throws him off the edge of a bridge, and he's hanging there. But he hears Camille, and he saves Dominic. He actually pulls him up from the bridge and then leaves him and runs off to save Camille, where we find her cowering in the corner because she's terrified of fire, because her family died in a fire. And she is terrified, she can't move, and Bond is just there. And basically, Bond gets in there and the whole thing kind of collapses and they're trapped, and Bond's just gonna die with her. He's just holding her and he's gonna die with her until one of the wall collapses, and there just so happens to be a gas line, and he shoots it, blows it up, gets out the wall. And then he finds Mr. Dominic running off into the desert. He's like, all right, and he chases Dominic down. He doesn't kill him. He takes him to the middle of the desert, and he's like, so you're just gonna start running that way? He's like, I've given you all the information. I've given you all the information you want. What do you want? I told you what Quantum is. There's the name of the organization, Quantum, but you don't learn anything about it. And the reason why it's called Quantum, to be fair to the movie, it was supposed to be Spectre, but the lawsuit hadn't been solved yet, so they couldn't use the word Spectre, so they had to use Quantum, which is why in Spectre, Quantum kind of disappears and Spectre appears. So, but he gets in there, and he's like, well, I'm not going to kill you. I promised you I wouldn't, but you're just going to walk in the desert because you've told me what Quantum is, and those guys probably know, so they're probably going to kill you. But I'll leave you with this. And he tosses him a can, and he's like, I give it about 2 hours before you drink that. And it's a can of oil. So he's getting revenge for Strawberry Fields, which is good. So he just leaves him in the desert, drives off, picks up Camille, takes Camille home. Him and Camille kiss. They don't do anything. They just kiss, and that's the end of that. And he's like, okay, I got a mission to complete. That's the end of that, until we see him in an apartment. Someone comes in, and it's Vesper's boyfriend. He's alive and well, and he is working for Quantum, and he betrayed Vesper. So Bond comes down. He didn't kill him. He just interrogated him. And Emma's like, you didn't kill him, did you? No. Okay, good. You got it. And he's like, okay. And Bond finally admits that this was all for Vesper, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, hey, we need you back. He said, I never left. So it's there. It's all good. Oh, by the way, Dominic Green was found in the middle of the desert with 2 bullet holes in the back of his head, and his stomach was full of oil. Would you know anything about that? Bond, no. Goes off, and we get the gun. And that's the end of your movie. Quantum of Solace. Done. So, the review for this. This was a very messy movie. It was not well written in the fact that it had so many action pieces in it and not a whole lot of story. That was because when this movie was being made, the writer's strike was going on, so they couldn't make a good movie. It was like they didn't have any writers. But this is the reason why Daniel Craig says that he will never do a movie again unless it has a completed script, because this script was not completed. In fact, Daniel Craig helped write this script. But having said that, it's entertaining, it's enjoyable, and I remember really hating this movie when it first came out. I remember falling asleep during it. But it's enjoyable, it's entertaining, it has great characters, wonderful acting, good action, but the messiness of the movie kind of detracts from it, and there's just too many coincidences, like, oh, suddenly Mathis is there to help him, and Mathis can help him out, no problem. Kind of so, but either way, I gave it 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10, my favorite review, my favorite review number. After watching it, I cannot say that it is better than Moonraker. Moonraker is kind of the number 7. That is, there's some before it, but Moonraker's kind of the number 7 because it's a good movie. So, but Quantum of Solace was kind of, I mean, you know, I did enjoy it, but as for the writing, it's just. So I mean, it's cool, and there aren't really any facts. I couldn't really give you any facts. The the what is it? The title song was that Amy Winehouse wrote a demo, and they denied her because of her problems she was going through at the time. Because at the time she had the drug problem and several others. I mean, wonderfully talented girl, but she had problems. And they thought that this movie was cursed because of all the injuries. Like there was a stuntman that fell off a scaffolding. There was a stuntman that had such a bad car wreck during one of the car chases that he had to be in intensive care. Daniel Craig himself got stitches on his face. He had screws in his shoulder. He cut off the tip of his finger in this, and he got kicked in the face by a stuntman, and it required him to have plastic surgery. It was minor plastic surgery, but it required him to have plastic surgery. So there's your facts. It's nothing special. Body count 16. Love count only 1. Just Strawberry Fields. He didn't. Camille Montez was not your typical Bond girl. She was just a badass. So that's pretty cool. Good on her. She's probably not going to be top 5 just because she would show up and then she would disappear and then she would show up again. So she had a good story though. But next up is the big one, Skyfall. This is known as the movie that brought back Bond. So it's a long one. It's directed by Sam Mendes. That's a big director now. Daniel Craig's third outing. We have Severine and and a letter of the by no name. And then Raul Silva, played by Javier Bardem. Yes, the Javier Bardem. The 63 Aston Martin comes back, and Skyfall by Adele is your song. But I really enjoy Skyfall. Spectre is going to be, that's a nutty one. But Skyfall is known, I mean, there's a reason why it's known as the Return of Bond. So hopefully you'll see you for that, but I will say thank you for watching again, and I hope to see you for Skyfall.